Most of those technologies are already public, Elon interrupted. We just implemented them in new ways. And frankly, the cat's out of the bag. The fact that this exists is now public knowledge. The president drummed his fingers on the table, thinking. He turned to Melania. It's your initiative. What do you want to do? All eyes turned to the First Lady. For a moment, her public mask slipped, and Elon saw the conflict in her eyes. This project had been her private mission for years, developed in secret, protected from interference. Making it public meant surrendering that control, that ownership. If we open source it, she asked Elon, who manages the ongoing development? Who ensures it stays true to the original vision? A foundation, Elon suggested. Independent, non-profit, with a board representing educational experts from different regions and backgrounds. No single government or corporation in control. She nodded slowly, decision forming. And I would have a role in this foundation? You would be its founder and first chairperson, Elon confirmed, setting the long-term vision while ensuring independence. The room waited as Melania considered the option. Finally, she looked at her husband. I believe this is the right path, not just to solve our immediate crisis, but to fulfill the purpose I always intended. Education without borders or controllers. The president nodded, seeming impressed by her conviction. Then that's what we'll do. He turned to his staff. Prepare an announcement. The First Lady will unveil the Global Education Access Foundation, with technical support from Elon Musk's team. Frame it as a bold initiative we've been developing to bring education to underserved communities worldwide. The communications director was already typing furiously. And the attacks, do we mention those? Absolutely, the president said. We highlight that corporate interests tried to undermine this humanitarian effort, but we've countered by making it available to everyone. David beating Goliath, the people versus the monopolists. The press will eat it up. Energy filled the room as staff began mobilizing around the new strategy. The president stood, signaling the meeting's end. We'll make the announcement this afternoon from the Rose Garden. Full press coverage. As the room cleared, Elon remained seated, watching the machine of government snap into action around what had been, just days ago, a secret project. Melania stayed behind as well, both of them islands of stillness in the sudden flurry of activity. Are you disappointed? Elon asked her quietly when they were relatively alone. This isn't how you planned for your initiative to unfold. Melania considered the question, looking out the window toward the Rose Garden where in a few hours she would stand before the world's press. In Slovenia, there's an old saying. Plans are what make God laugh. She turned back to him with the hint of a smile. This isn't what I planned, but perhaps it's better. The foundation will need technical advisors, Elon noted. People who understand both the technology and the vision behind it. Are you volunteering, Mr. Musk? There was a hint of amusement in her voice. I'm suggesting a continuing partnership, he replied. Different from what we've had these past weeks, but perhaps more productive. Before she could respond, the president returned, aides trailing behind him. Melania, we need you for the statement preparation. Elon, my team has questions about how to explain the technology in layman's terms. They both stood, the moment broken. As they followed the president into the next phase of this unexpected journey, Elon felt his phone buzz. A message from Chen. Ljubljana team confirms they've isolated all backdoors. System is clean. Ready when you are. 3 hours later, Elon stood to the side as the president and first lady addressed the world from the sun-dappled Rose Garden. Camera shutters clicked rapidly as Melania stepped to the microphone. Today, I am proud to announce the Global Education Access Foundation. She began, her voice steady and clear. A non-profit initiative to bring quality education to every child, regardless of location, wealth, or political circumstance. As she continued outlining the vision, the same vision she had shared with Elon in that first private meeting weeks, goes here. He watched the assembled press corps, Their initial skepticism was giving way to genuine interest as they recognized the scope and potential impact of what was being announced. The president joined her at the microphone for the final portion. And yes, there were those who tried to undermine this humanitarian effort, he stated, his familiar commanding presence in full force. Corporate interests who feared what truly accessible education might mean for their bottom line. But we've responded not by building higher walls but by removing them entirely. Elon felt a tap on his shoulder. Chen had appeared beside him, tablet in hand. "It's happening," he whispered. "The open source repository just went live. Developers are already downloading it, over 5,000 in the first minute." On the tablet screen, a world map showed points of light appearing, each representing someone accessing the newly released platform. Points in Silicon Valley, Bangalore, Lagos, Tokyo, Tel Aviv, Santiago, spreading like stars appearing at dusk. "And we've detected Westbrook's systems downloading it too," Chen added with a grin. "They're studying what they failed to steal." At the podium, Melania was concluding her remarks. Education should never be controlled by any single government, corporation, or ideology. Knowledge belongs to humanity. And today, we take a small step toward making that principle a reality. Applause rippled through the Rose Garden. Questions shouted from the press corps. The president gesturing toward Elon, inviting him to join them at the podium to answer technical questions. As Elon moved forward into the glare of cameras and the forest of microphones, he reflected on the strange journey that had brought him here. A chance discovery in a routine budget document. A secret meeting with the First Lady. A hidden backdoor in an educational platform's code. What had begun as Melania Trump's hidden agenda had transformed into something far more significant, perhaps the beginning of a fundamental shift in how knowledge moved around the world, not controlled by governments or corporations but freely available to anyone willing to learn. The president introduced him to the press, and Elon stepped to the microphone, Chen's tablet still in his hand, showing the growing constellation of light points across the digital globe. "The technology is complex," he began, "but the idea is simple. Knowledge wants to be free. Today we're helping it break its chains." Behind him, Melania smiled, no longer the composed, enigmatic First Lady of public perception, but a woman, watching her vision take flight in ways she never imagined. Their unlikely partnership had uncovered something neither expected, a path toward educational freedom that might long outlast both their careers. And somewhere in Zurich, in an unremarkable office building, executives at Westbrook Learning were undoubtedly having a very bad day. Retry. Elon thought quickly. "What about the honeypot we set up? Anyone trip it yet?" "That's the weird part," Chen said. "The back door is being accessed using credentials tied to the Ljubljana team lead, the guy who supposedly created it. But our tracking shows he's currently in a meeting in Ljubljana. His credentials are being used from somewhere else. He's been compromised," Elon concluded. Or he was never working alone. He glanced back at the room full of officials now gathered around the president's desk. "Hold the line as long as you can. I'll call back with authorization for next steps." When Elon rejoined the group, the president was being briefed on the potential political fallout. The communications director was already drafting statements, while the legal team huddled in concerned discussion. Melania stood slightly apart from the chaos, her eyes meeting Elon's when he approached. "They're using the back door," he told her quietly, "and attacking from multiple fronts." "Who?" she asked, her voice barely audible above the room's commotion. "We don't know yet. But they're well organized and they know exactly what they're after." Melania's expression hardened. "All this for an educational platform. Not just any platform," Elon reminded her. "One designed to operate independently of government control, capable of reaching millions of users worldwide. In the wrong hands. It could become exactly what I was trying to prevent," she finished. The president's voice cut through the room. "All right, here's what we're doing. First, we contain this attack. Then we get ahead of the story. The First Lady was developing an innovative educational initiative with private sector partners, including Mr. Musk. The White House is proud to announce this program, which is now being targeted by hackers who oppose education in developing regions. The communications director was frantically taking notes. The national security advisor looked skeptical. "Sir, we don't know enough yet to make those claims." "We know enough to control the narrative," the president insisted. "This isn't my first rodeo with the press." Elon exchanged glances with Melania. The president was doing what he did best, taking a potential disaster and spinning it into a win. But the real crisis was still unfolding in cyberspace, where unknown attackers were trying to seize control of a system more powerful than anyone in this room fully understood. "Mr. President," Elon said, stepping forward, "before we make any announcements, we need to secure the platform. And to do that, I need to get back to my team." The president nodded. "Go. Keep me updated." He turned to his staff. "Nothing leaks from this room until we have a unified message. Clear?" As Elon headed for the door, Melania followed him. In the hallway, away from the others, she spoke quietly. "This isn't just about education anymore, is it?" Elon met her gaze. "I don't think it ever was. Not entirely." Around them, the White House continued to buzz with activity as the crisis escalated. Officials hurried through corridors. Phones rang constantly. Outside, the rain had stopped, but darker clouds were gathering on the horizon. The hidden agenda Elon had uncovered weeks ago was now exposed for all to see, but the true battle was just beginning. A battle for control of a system that could shape how millions of children around the world would learn and think. And somewhere, watching it all unfold, was whoever had planted that back door in the first place. Morning light streamed through the windows of the Roosevelt Room, where an unlikely alliance had formed overnight. Elon sat at one end of the historic table, eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep, his usual casual attire replaced by a rumpled dress shirt and tie, concessions to White House protocol during a crisis. Across from him, Melania looked remarkably composed despite having been awake for nearly 30 hours, her notes arranged precisely before her. The president occupied the head of the table, surrounded by his core team, chiefs of staff, communications, national security, and the newly arrived FBI cybersecurity experts. "Run it down for me again," the president said, coffee cup in hand. "In simple terms, who's attacking us? What do they want? And how do we stop them?" Elon leaned forward. "Based on what we've pieced together over the night, we're facing a coordinated effort by a group with ties to several Eastern European technology firms. They're using inside knowledge of the educational platform's architecture to try to seize control of it." "For what purpose?" asked the FBI director. "Control," Melania answered before Elon could. "This platform reaches into schools and homes across developing regions. It delivers educational content without government filtering. Whoever controls it essentially has a direct line to millions of young minds." The president frowned. "So this isn't about stealing technology. It's about hijacking influence." "Exactly," Elon nodded. "And they nearly succeeded. If we hadn't found the backdoor they installed, they could have gradually taken over without anyone noticing." The national security advisor tapped her pen against her notepad. "The question remains, who are they exactly? A foreign government? Corporate interests? Educational competitors?" Elon exchanged glances with Chen, who had been granted emergency White House clearance and now sat nearby with his laptop. "Show them what we found at 4 a.m. Chen turned his laptop around, displaying a complex web of connections. "We traced the attack vectors back through multiple proxy servers. Most led nowhere. Dead ends designed to confuse us, but one trail led to this small office building in Zurich." He zoomed in on satellite imagery of an unremarkable building. "It houses a shell company called Global Educational Partners. Sounds innocent enough, except when you dig into its ownership structure." The display changed to show a corporate organization chart. "It's a subsidiary of a holding company that traces back to one of the largest educational publishing conglomerates in the world. Westbrook Learning." The president read the name at the top of the chart. "Never heard of them." "Few people have," Elon explained. but they control nearly 60% of textbook and educational content distribution in Western markets. They've been losing ground to digital platforms for years. Understanding dawned on the faces around the table. The FBI director spoke first. So they infiltrated the First Lady's initiative to either control it or destroy it, to protect their market position. That's our working theory, Elon confirmed. They placed people on the development teams from the beginning. The Ljubljana team lead who created the backdoor? He previously worked for a Westbrook subsidiary. The president leaned back in his chair, a calculating look in his eyes. So we're not facing nation-state hackers. We're looking at corporate espionage. Corporate terrorism is more accurate, Melania said, her accent slightly more pronounced, with fatigue. They're attacking a platform designed to help children learn. Where do we stand now? The president asked. Do we still control the system? Chen answered, yes, sir. We've blocked their access attempts and isolated the compromised components, but they're persistent. They're trying new approaches every hour. And the educational content? Is it secure? We've moved it to backup servers not connected to the original architecture, Elon explained. The core of what makes the platform valuable is safe. The president nodded, then looked around the table. Options, give me options. The National Security Advisor spoke first. We could pursue criminal charges, corporate espionage, computer fraud, conspiracy. The FBI has jurisdiction. That's playing defense, the president dismissed. What else? We could go public, suggested the communications director. Full transparency. Announce the educational initiative as a White House priority that's being attacked by corporate interests trying to maintain their monopoly. The president smiled, slightly at this approach. Better. That puts us on the offensive. Other ideas? Elon had been quiet, thinking. Now he straightened in his chair. There's another option. One that solves multiple problems at once. All eyes turned to him. We open-sourced the entire platform, he said simply. The room fell silent. The FBI director frowned. You want to give away the technology after all this effort to protect it? Not give it away, Elon clarified. Release it to the world under a specific open-source license. One that prevents commercial exploitation but allows educational institutions to freely use and improve it. He turned to Melania. Your vision was for an educational platform free from political or corporate control. What better way to ensure that than making it belong to everyone and no one at the same time? Melania considered this, eyes narrowed, in thought. The core algorithms, the adaptive learning systems, everything would be public? Everything, Elon confirmed. With proper protections against misuse built into the license. And with that move, we instantly neutralize Westbrook's attack. They can't steal or control what's freely available to everyone. The president watched this exchange with interest. Would it still work? Still provide the educational benefits you envisioned? It would work better, Elon said confidently. Open-source projects attract global talent. Developers and educators worldwide would improve it far faster than any single team could. The National Security Advisor raised a hand. There are national security implications to consider. This platform uses advanced encryption and distributed systems technologies. Making those public would be someone moving development to a more secure location, or someone stealing the technology. Anna said what they were all thinking. Elon made a quick decision. Lock it down. Use the emergency protocols Melania authorized. Freeze access to the core systems until we know what's happening. As Chen implemented the security measures, Elon's personal phone, his regular one, not the secure government device, buzzed with a news alert. He felt a chill as he read the headline. Sources claim First Lady running unauthorized foreign tech program. The article was light on details but heavy on implications. Unnamed sources claiming Melania Trump was operating a shadow technology initiative with Eastern European companies, bypassing normal government oversight. No mention of Elon or his involvement. Not yet. We've got company, he told the team, showing them the news alert. Someone leaked. What now? Tom asked, looking concerned. Elon took a deep breath, weighing their options. The project was compromised. The technology might be under threat. And now the media was starting to circle. Now, he said, we move to phase 2. No more hiding in the shadows. Time to bring this into the light. But on our terms. He picked up the secure phone to call Melania, knowing the conversation ahead would change everything. The secret was out, at least partially. Now they needed to control the narrative before someone else did. As the phone rang, Elon glanced at his team, the best technical minds he knew, now caught in a Washington political storm. None of them had signed up for. All because he'd noticed an unusual pattern in a budget document during what should have been a routine meeting. Life comes at you fast, he muttered as Melania's assistant answered, promising to connect him immediately. The game was changing. The White House was about to erupt, and Elon Musk was right in the middle of it all. Rain pelted the windows of the West Wing as chaos unfolded inside. Staffers rushed through hallways, phones pressed to ears, voices hushed but urgent. In the Oval Office, President Trump paced back and forth, his face flushed with anger as his chief of staff tried to explain the situation. So you're telling me, the president said, jabbing a finger toward the television where cable news was already running with the story, that my wife has been running some kind of secret technology program with companies in Eastern Europe. And I'm finding out about it from CNN? Sir, we're still gathering facts, the chief of staff replied, trying to maintain calm. The First Lady is on her way here now. And Musk? What's his involvement in this? The president demanded, gesturing to the crawling headline that now mentioned the tech billionaire as a possible collaborator. Before anyone could answer, the door opened and Melania entered, her face composed despite the storm brewing around her. She nodded to the staff in the room. I need to speak with my husband alone. The president waved everyone out, waiting until the door closed behind them before turning to his wife. What the hell is going on, Melania? Across town, Elon sat in the back of a government SUV speeding through the rain toward the White House. His secure phone rang, Chen calling from their command center. Boss, it's getting worse, Chen said without preamble. Someone's trying to brute force their way past our security protocols on the Ljubljana servers. And that data transfer to Zurich we spotted? It's accelerated. Elon cursed under his breath. They're making their move now that the story's breaking. Can you block them? For now, Chen replied. But they're sophisticated. This isn't some random hacker. They know the system architecture intimately. Keep everything locked down, Elon ordered, and get ready to implement the nuclear option if needed. The complete system wipe? Are you sure? Not yet, Elon said, but be prepared. Better to destroy it than let it fall into the wrong hands. As the SUV pulled up to the White House security gate, Elon saw reporters already gathering despite the rain, cameras pointed at the entrance. His driver took him to a side entrance, but a few photographers spotted him anyway, flashes popping in the gray afternoon light. Inside, a tense-faced aide led him not to the hidden office where he usually met Melania, but directly toward the Oval Office. This wasn't part of the plan. The president wants to see you immediately, the aide explained, hurrying him through corridors where staffers stared openly. Is the First Lady there? Elon asked, mentally preparing for what was coming. Yes, sir. They've been talking for about 20 minutes. Not enough time to explain everything, Elon thought. This was going to be rough. When he entered the Oval Office, the tension was palpable. President Trump stood behind his desk, his typical bombastic energy focused into a cold anger. Melania sat in one of the side chairs, her posture perfect, face unreadable. Also present was the White House counsel and the National Security Advisor. Not a good sign. Mr. Musk, the president said, not offering to shake hands. Perhaps you can explain why you and my wife have been operating a secret technology program, using White House resources without my knowledge? Elon glanced at Melania, who gave him an almost imperceptible nod. Mr. President, Elon began, choosing his words carefully. The First Lady initiated an educational technology platform designed to provide quality learning resources to underserved communities globally. I was brought in recently to consult on security architecture. An educational platform, the president repeated flatly. That required military-grade security, foreign developers, and complete secrecy from the White House staff. The security measures reflect the importance of protecting educational content from manipulation, Elon replied. As for the secrecy, that was a precaution to avoid precisely what's happening now. Political complications before the system was ready. The National Security Advisor stepped forward. Mr. Musk, our preliminary assessment indicates this platform could be used to distribute content to millions of users worldwide, bypassing normal diplomatic and educational channels. That raises significant national security concerns. It's an educational tool, not a propaganda network, Elon countered. The content is standard curriculum, mathematics, science, literature, adapted for different cultural contexts. Then why hide it? The president demanded, turning to Melania. Why not run it through normal channels? Melania met her husband's gaze directly. Because normal channels would have buried it in committees, Donald. Because your own administration would have wanted to control the content, the distribution, everything. It's my administration. The president's voice rose. And, this is my initiative, she replied, her voice calm but firm. Something I started before you took office, something I believe in. Education without political interference. The tension between them crackled in the air. Elon had never witnessed this side of their relationship. The private power dynamic, behind the public image. The White House counsel cleared his throat. Regardless of intentions, we have potential legal issues here. Government resources used for an unauthorized program. Contracts with foreign entities without proper oversight. Potential violations of federal records laws. Not to mention the political nightmare, the president added, gesturing toward the windows where rain-soaked reporters continued to gather outside. The opposition will say my wife was running a shadow foreign policy. Elon's secure phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at it quickly, a message from Chen. Urgent call, immediately. System under coordinated attack. He looked up to find everyone staring at him. Mr. President, we have a more immediate problem. The educational platform is currently under attack by sophisticated hackers. My team is defending it, but we need to make decisions quickly. This shifted the energy in the room. The president might be angry about being kept in the dark, but a foreign attack on a White House-connected system was a different matter entirely. Who's attacking it? The National Security Advisor asked sharply. We don't know yet, Elon admitted, but they have insider knowledge of the system architecture, possibly someone originally involved in its development. The president looked between Elon and Melania, his expression calculating. Whatever his personal feelings, he was now facing a potential security crisis. John, he said to his chief of staff, who had re-entered the room, get the cybersecurity team in here, and call the director of the FBI. He turned to Elon. Can your people keep this contained? For now, Elon replied. But I need authorization to implement emergency protocols if necessary. What kind of protocols? The National Security Advisor asked. If we can't defend the system, we destroy it. Elon said bluntly. Complete data wipe, server shutdown. Better than letting someone else take control. The president nodded. Do what you need to do. He turned to Melania. We'll discuss the rest of this later. As if on cue, the door opened and a flood of officials began entering. The White House, cybersecurity director, communications staff, more legal counsel. The crisis response was kicking into high gear. Elon stepped aside to call Chen, turning away from the growing crowd in the Oval Office. Talk to me, he said when Chen answered. It's worse than we thought, Chen replied, the sound of furious typing in the background. The attack is coming from multiple points. Someone's using the back door we found, but there are also brute force attempts from other locations. Whoever's doing this has resources. Government level? Elon asked quietly. Possibly. Or a very well-funded private group. Musk, do we have an agreement? Elon hesitated for just a moment before shaking her hand. We do. But understand, if I find anything that contradicts what you've told me, I'm out, and I won't stay quiet. I would expect nothing less, she replied. with a slight smile. As Elon left the White House that evening, the setting sun painted the buildings in gold and shadow. He had just committed himself to one of the most unusual partnerships in his career. A secret collaboration with the First Lady of the United States to build an educational system that could potentially change the power dynamics of knowledge itself. His phone buzzed with texts from his team, wondering where he'd gone and if he was okay. He texted back a simple message. "All good. Project is a go. We'll explain when I return." The car turned onto Pennsylvania Avenue, and Elon watched, the White House recede in the side mirror. He had come to Washington for a routine meeting and stumbled into a secret that could reshape global education. Now he was part of that secret, for better or worse. And somewhere in the East Wing, Melania Trump was likely explaining to her staff that Elon Musk was now part of their hidden agenda. The smell of strong coffee filled the secure room Elon had, set up in an unmarked office building 3 blocks from the White House. For the past 2 weeks, his team had been working around the clock, analyzing the educational platform Melania Trump had created. Computer screens lined the walls displaying code sequences, security protocols, and learning algorithms. "I still can't believe we're doing this," whispered Chen as he worked beside Elon, both of them hunched over keyboards. Secret meetings, with the First Lady, encrypted communications working out of this, what did you call it? "A skiff," Elon replied, without looking up from his screen. "Secure compartmented information facility, standard for classified government work." Chen shook his head. "Nothing standard about this situation, boss." Elon couldn't argue with that. In the 2 weeks since he'd agreed to help Melania, he'd entered a world of shadows and whispers he never knew existed beneath Washington's surface. His team members had been vetted by unnamed security personnel. They'd signed confidentiality, agreements that made his company's NDAs look like permission slips. They used special phones that couldn't be tracked and traveled through service entrances and freight elevators for meetings at the White House, all for an educational platform. Except it wasn't just any platform. "Look at this architecture," Anna said, pointing to her screen where a complex web of interconnected systems glowed. "It's designed to fragment and replicate if attacked, like a digital hydra. Cut off one head, 2 more appear." Elon nodded. "Military-grade resilience for teaching, kids' multiplication tables. Someone put serious thought into this." The door opened and everyone tensed until they saw it was Tom returning with lunch bags. "Security almost didn't let me back in with the food," he grumbled, distributing sandwiches. "Apparently bringing in outside items is a protocol violation." "Everything's a protocol violation," Chen mumbled through a bite of sandwich. "Breathing too loud is probably a protocol violation." Elon checked his special phone, a message from Melania's assistant. "The First Lady will be here in 30 minutes. Where are we on the security assessment?" The team exchanged glances. Anna spoke first. "The system is impressive, but there are vulnerabilities in the mesh network architecture. If someone gained access to enough nodes simultaneously, they could potentially insert content or monitor usage." "Unlikely but possible," Chen added. "More concerning is the backdoor we found in the Ljubljana team's code. It's subtle, but it's there." Elon's eyes narrowed. "Show me." Chen pulled up a section of code. To most people, it would look like routine programming. But Elon immediately spotted the issue, a small access point hidden within the authentication protocols. "Who would have access to this?" Elon asked, based on the encryption keys someone high up in the project. "One of the original architects," Chen replied. Elon leaned back in his chair, mind racing. This changed things. A backdoor meant someone wanted secret access to the system, access that even Melania might not know about. When the First Lady arrived 30 minutes later, she came with just one assistant who waited outside. She wore a simple blue dress rather than her usual public attire, her hair pulled back in a practical style. In these private meetings, she seemed to shed some of her public persona, more businesswoman than political figure. "Mr. Musk," she greeted him. "Your message said you found something important." Elon led her to the main display where Chen had prepared a simplified visualization of the back door. "We found this in the core code. It's a hidden access point, a way for someone to enter the system without being detected. Melania's expression remained neutral, but Elon noticed her posture stiffen slightly. Explain what this means in practical terms. It means someone could potentially modify content, track usage patterns, or even shut down the system, Elon said, and do it without leaving traces. Who? She asked, her accent slightly more pronounced now. Something Elon had noticed happened. When she was concerned. We don't know yet, but the encryption signature suggests it's someone with high-level access to the original codebase, one of your technical leads in Europe. Melania was silent for a moment, studying the display. When she spoke, her voice was calm but had a new edge to it. I want it removed. We can do that, Chen said, but whoever placed it will know it's gone. They might have other backdoors we haven't found yet. More importantly, Elon added, we need to understand why it's there. This kind of access point isn't accidental. Someone wanted a private way into the system. Melania walked to the window, looking out at the slice of Washington skyline visible through the blinds. When I began this project, I trusted people I knew from my home country. People I believed shared my vision. She turned back to face them. Perhaps my trust was misplaced. Or perhaps they were protecting their interests, Elon suggested. Building something this significant creates powerful temptations. Control, data, influence. Melania nodded slowly. The very things I was trying to prevent. She returned to the display. Remove it. Replace it with something that appears to function but actually reports any attempt to use it. I want to know who tries to access the system through this door. Elon exchanged glances with his team. This was moving from technical consulting into counterintelligence territory. That's possible, he said carefully. But it escalates the situation. If someone is trying to control your platform, trapping them could provoke a reaction. I'm counting on it, Melania replied with a hint of steel in her voice. Better to face opposition now than after we've deployed to thousands of schools. The team spent the next hour walking Melania through their other findings. The platform's educational content was genuinely impressive, adaptive, culturally sensitive, and designed to work even with minimal technology. The security architecture was strong but had weak points they could address. The content delivery system needed refinement but showed promise. As the meeting concluded, Elon walked Melania to the door. There's one more thing we should discuss, he said quietly. At some point, your husband needs to know about this. Melania gave him a measured look. Why? This is my initiative, not a White House program. Because it's going to become public, eventually, Elon replied. And because keeping something this significant from the president creates unnecessary risks for the project and for you personally. She considered his words. My husband has many priorities right now. His attention on this could complicate things. More than keeping him in the dark, Elon countered. What happens if a reporter discovers that the First Lady and Elon Musk are working on a secret educational platform with foreign companies? Without the president's knowledge? Melania's expression didn't change, but Elon sensed her calculating the political implications. 1 week, she said finally. Give me 1 week to prepare the presentation properly, then we'll brief him together. Elon hadn't expected that last part. Together? I'm not sure that's... He respects you, Melania interrupted. Your presence will help him see this as a technological opportunity, not a political liability. Before Elon could respond, his secure phone buzzed. He checked it, frowning at the message. Problem? Melania asked. Maybe, he replied. One of my team monitoring the European companies detected unusual activity. Someone's copying large amounts of data from their servers. Melania's assistant appeared at the door, also looking at her phone with concern. Ma'am, we need to go. The president is asking for you. Something about a news story breaking. Elon and Melania locked eyes, both thinking the same thing. Had their secret collaboration been discovered? Keep me informed, she said to Elon, her public mask sliding back into place as she prepared to return to her official duties. Whatever is happening, we need to stay ahead of it. After she left, Elon returned to the team, who were already tracking the data movement. "What are we looking at?" he asked. Anna pulled up a visualization. "Someone's pulling educational content, user interface elements, and core algorithms from the Ljubljana servers. Copying everything?" "A backup?" Tom suggested. Chen shook his head. "No, the destination isn't their usual backup servers. It's going to a new location. Looks like Zurich." Elon's mind raced through possibilities. Could be innocent. Horsiring, yet both recognized that what happened next could impact not just their reputations, but potentially the future of education for millions of children. Elon Musk had come to Washington for a routine government meeting. Instead, he'd stumbled upon the First Lady's secret project, and now held its fate in his hands. Retrike, the morning sun cast long shadows across Elon's hotel room as he paced back and forth, phone pressed to his ear. 3 days had passed since his unexpected meeting with Melania Trump, and he hadn't been able to stop thinking about what he'd discovered. "I need you and the team here in DC by tonight," he told his most trusted engineer. "Book the private jet. Bring the data analysis equipment. Tell everyone it's about the government satellite contract if anyone asks." After hanging up, Elon stood at the window, watching the early morning traffic crawl along Pennsylvania Avenue. He was playing a dangerous game. The First Lady had shared confidential information with him, trusting he wouldn't expose her secret initiative. Yet something about the whole situation didn't add up. Why would she need such elaborate financial mechanisms for an educational program? Why involve small tech startups instead of established educational platforms? The pieces fit together, but the picture remained blurry. By evening, Elon had converted his hotel suite into a makeshift command center. His team arrived with equipment-filled cases, faces showing a mix of curiosity and concern. "Boss, what exactly are we looking for?" asked Chen, his head of data security, as they set up specialized laptops around the dining table. Elon pulled up digital copies of the documents he'd been studying. "Financial trails, communication patterns. I need to understand if this is what it appears to be." He briefed the small team, carefully omitting Melania's name. "We're looking at funding channels between government offices and several Eastern European tech companies. I need to know exactly what these companies are developing, who's on their boards, and any unusual patterns in their operations." For the next 18 hours, the suite buzzed with activity. Screens displayed financial flowcharts, corporate registrations, and satellite images of office buildings in Ljubljana, Budapest, and Prague. They ordered room service and barely slept, driven by Elon's intense focus. "Look at this," said Anna, his blockchain specialist, pointing to her screen. "These companies all received identical funding amounts on the same days, split across multiple accounts. Classic pattern to avoid detection thresholds." Chen nodded, adding, "And the board members have interesting backgrounds, not just tech people. There's a former education minister, a child psychologist, and this woman who appears to have gone to school with the First Lady." Elon leaned closer. "What about the technology itself? Any patents filed? Research papers?" "That's where it gets interesting," said Tom, scrolling through documents. "They're developing some kind of adaptive learning platform that uses minimal data bandwidth, perfect for regions with poor internet infrastructure. But the real innovation appears to be in their content delivery. Highly customized cultural contexts." Elon's brow furrowed. "Show me examples." Tom pulled up screen captures from the company's internal servers. "The system adapts not just to learning pace but to cultural references, local examples, even dialect. A child in rural Slovenia sees different examples than one in urban America, but they learn the same core concepts." "That's actually brilliant," Elon admitted, studying the interface. "Education has always struggled with cultural relevance. Most platforms just translate the same Western examples." He walked to the window, thinking. The more they uncovered, the more legitimate the project seemed, but the secrecy still bothered him. "There's one more thing," Anna said hesitantly. "These companies are developing secure communication protocols alongside the educational platform. Military-grade encryption." Elon turned sharply. Why would an educational tool need that level of security? The question hung in the air as they exchanged glances. Unless, Chen said slowly, they're concerned about who might try to access it or control it. A knock at the door interrupted them. Elon motioned for everyone to close their laptops as he checked the security camera feed on his phone. A man in a dark suit stood outside. Secret Service. Mr. Musk, the agent said when Elon opened the door. The First Lady requests your presence at the White House, immediately. 30 minutes later, Elon found himself in a different part of the White House. A small wood-paneled study with no windows. Melania was already there, along with a man he recognized as the White House Chief of Technology Officer. Mr. Musk, Melania said coolly, I understand you've assembled a team to investigate my project more thoroughly. Elon maintained his composure. I was intrigued by what you showed me. As a tech developer myself, I wanted to understand the architecture better. The tech officer stepped forward. Mr. Musk, you accessed secure servers without authorization. That's a federal offense. I accessed publicly available corporate registrations and patent applications, Elon countered. Nothing classified or illegal. Melania raised a hand to silence her colleague. The question isn't what you did, but why. I shared my vision with you in confidence. Was that a mistake? Elon considered his response carefully. I needed to verify what I was seeing. The encryption protocols raised questions. A flicker of something, respect perhaps, crossed Melania's face. You noticed that detail. Good. She turned to the tech officer. Give us the room, please. Once they were alone, Melania's demeanor changed subtly. She seemed less the polished First Lady, and more the determined immigrant who had navigated her way to the highest levels of American society. The encryption isn't just for security, she explained, taking a seat across from him. It's to prevent manipulation. By whom? Elon asked, sitting down as well. By anyone with an agenda. Governments, corporations, even well-meaning education officials. She leaned forward. Education shapes minds, Mr. Musk. Control education and you control the future. Understanding dawned on Elon. You're not just building a teaching tool. You're creating an independent educational platform that can't be censored or controlled by changing political winds. Melania nodded. I grew up in a country where history books were rewritten with each new regime, where certain ideas were forbidden. America may be different, but education still bends to political forces. She tapped on a tablet, showing him more of the system. This platform delivers core knowledge while respecting local cultures, mathematics, science, literature, universal truths that transcend politics. And it's designed to operate with or without government approval. Elon studied her with new interest. That's why the secrecy. You're building a backdoor to the future, a way to ensure children learn regardless of who's in power. And now you understand why it couldn't go through official channels, she replied. Even my husband's administration would insist on controls, oversight committees, approved content guidelines. Elon stood and paced the small room, mind racing. The engineering is impressive, but the security vulnerabilities are significant. She finished his thought. That's why I've been watching your work. Your companies understand how to build resilient systems. He stopped pacing. You want my help? I need your expertise, she corrected him. And your discretion. Elon ran a hand through his hair, weighing the implications. Getting involved with a secret White House project carried enormous risks. Yet the potential impact of such a system was equally enormous. Who else knows about this, he asked. A small circle. My personal staff. The tech companies. A few trusted advisors. She hesitated. Not the president. Not yet. Elon raised an eyebrow. That's a significant omission. My husband has many strengths, Melania said diplomatically. Keeping secrets from the press isn't among them. Once he knows, the project becomes vulnerable. The room fell silent as Elon processed everything. Working with the First Lady on a secret educational initiative that bypassed normal government channels was dangerous territory. If it leaked, the political fallout would be immense. His companies could lose government contracts, His reputation could suffer, yet he couldn't deny the brilliance of the concept. An educational platform immune to political interference, adaptable to any culture, accessible even in regions with poor infrastructure. It aligned with his own beliefs about humanity's future. "If I agree to help," he said finally, "I'd need to bring in my own security team. Review all the code, test for vulnerabilities." Melania nodded. "Of course. And eventually this has to become public," he added. "Secrecy might be necessary during development, but something this important needs sunlight to grow." "When it's ready," she agreed. "When it's too robust to be easily dismantled." Elon walked to a painting on the wall, a landscape of Slovenia's countryside that Melania had brought to this private office. He studied it, thinking of his own immigrant journey, the challenges he'd faced, the systems he'd tried to change. "There's one more condition," he said, turning back to her. "This has to remain educational. No surveillance components, no data collection beyond what's needed for the learning algorithms. I won't help build another digital control system." Melania stood and extended her hand. "Those are my values as well, mister." In the heart of Washington, D.C., where power and politics intertwined like old friends, Elon Musk found himself walking through the polished corridors of the White House. The spring air carried a hint of cherry blossoms as he adjusted his blue tie, preparing for what he thought would be a routine briefing on space technology and potential government contracts. The meeting room was smaller than he expected, with large windows overlooking the carefully manicured rose garden. Around an oval table sat various officials from NASA, the Department of Defense, and a few faces he didn't recognize. They exchanged pleasantries as folders were passed around containing the day's agenda. "Mr. Musk, we're particularly interested in your thoughts on the new satellite deployment schedule," said a gray-haired man from the Defense Department, sliding a classified document across the table. Elon nodded, flipping through the pages with practiced efficiency. His companies had been working closely with the government on various projects, but something in these documents caught his eye. Between budget allocations and technical specifications, he noticed an unusual pattern in the funding structure, a series of specialized grants flowing through channels he hadn't seen before. "These allocations on page 17, he said casually, "they're linked to the First Lady's office." The room grew quiet. A woman in a navy suit cleared her throat. "Those are separate initiatives, Mr. Musk, not relevant to today's discussion." But Elon's mind was already racing, connecting dots from other projects he'd encountered in the private sector. The pattern looked strikingly similar to international technology transfers his teams had tracked in Eastern Europe. Not illegal by any means, but certainly unusual for the First Lady's office to be directly involved with. The meeting continued, but Elon found his attention split between the conversation at hand and the puzzle he'd stumbled upon. When the briefing ended, he shook hands with everyone, maintaining his usual composed demeanor, but his thoughts were elsewhere. Later that evening, in his temporary apartment overlooking the Potomac River, Elon spread the documents across a glass table. The city lights twinkled outside as he made notes, drawing connections between the White House allocations and several technology startups he'd been monitoring. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered to himself, rubbing his tired eyes. He picked up his phone and called the one person he trusted with sensitive information. "Lee," he said when his chief security analyst answered. "I need you to look into something." Quietly. The next morning brought a beautiful Washington sunrise, but Elon hardly noticed as he sat in a private corner of a small cafe, nursing a black coffee. His phone buzzed with a message from Lee. "Found something. Not what we expected. Call when secure." Elon felt a mix of curiosity and concern. Whatever Melania Trump was involved in, it was sophisticated enough to catch his attention and complex enough to require secrecy. As a businessman who had navigated countless political landscapes, he knew that in Washington, information was currency. And he had just stumbled upon what felt like a gold mine. His driver took him to his scheduled tour of the National Air and Space Museum, where he smiled for photos with fans and discussed Mars colonization with wide-eyed children. But his mind kept returning to the puzzle. What was the First Lady doing that required such careful financial maneuvering? And why keep it hidden from official channels? That evening, as he reviewed more information sent by Lee, pieces began falling into place. The funds were being directed towards several small tech companies in Slovenia and neighboring countries, companies specializing in artificial intelligence and educational technology. Companies that, on paper, had no direct connection to Melania Trump, but shared board members with her childhood friends. Interesting, Elon whispered, leaning back in his chair. This wasn't about personal enrichment or political power plays, the usual suspects in Washington scandals. This looked like something entirely different. He was interrupted by a call from the White House. The Secretary of Technology wanted another meeting, this time about electric vehicle infrastructure. Elon agreed, seeing an opportunity to gather more information. The next day's meeting brought him back to the White House, where he noticed subtle changes in how staff interacted with him. Word had gotten around that he was asking questions. In Washington, questions were rarely welcomed, especially from outsiders. As he waited in a reception area, a tall woman with a Secret Service earpiece approached him. "Mr. Musk, the First Lady, would like a word with you, if you'll follow me." Elon felt a surge of adrenaline. This was unexpected. He followed the agent through corridors he hadn't seen before, entering the East Wing where the First Lady maintained her offices. The decor shifted from institutional to elegant, with artwork from around the world adorning the walls. He was led to a bright office where Melania Trump stood by a window, looking out at the garden. She turned as he entered, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Musk," she said with her distinctive accent, "I understand you've been asking questions about certain financial arrangements." Elon maintained eye contact, his face neutral. "I noticed some interesting patterns during my briefing yesterday. Professional curiosity, you might say." Melania gestured to a chair and sat down across from him. "Professional curiosity that led you to investigate my private initiatives." There was no anger in her voice, just a calm assessment. "When I see complex financial structures hidden in government documents, I tend to pay attention," Elon replied. "It's kept me alive in business." For a moment, they studied each other. Two immigrants who had risen to positions of extraordinary influence in America, now facing off in a quiet power play. Melania's expression softened slightly. "What do you think you found, Mr. Musk?" Elon considered his words carefully. "A network of technology companies in Eastern Europe receiving indirect funding through channels connected to your office. Companies working on AI systems with educational applications, all carefully structured to avoid detection." He paused, watching her reaction. "What I haven't figured out is why the First Lady of the United States would need to operate in the shadows for what appears to be an educational technology initiative." To his surprise, Melania smiled, a genuine expression that rarely appeared in her public photographs. "You've done your homework, as expected." She reached for a tablet on her desk and pulled up a series of images. "Let me show you what you've actually discovered." She handed him the tablet, which displayed photographs of children in classrooms, using specialized tablets with interfaces he didn't recognize. The locations varied: rural villages, urban centers, refugee camps. "This is what those funds are building," she said, her voice softer now. "An educational AI system designed specifically for children without access to quality teachers. It adapts to their learning style, cultural context, and available resources." Elon swiped through the images, his tech entrepreneur's mind immediately grasping the potential. "Why the secrecy?" Melania stood, walking to a bookshelf where photographs of her own childhood stood in simple frames. "Politics," she said simply. "The moment this becomes an official White House initiative, it becomes a political football. Every decision gets scrutinized, every partner vetted for political donations rather than capability." She turned back to him. "I wanted to build something that would last beyond this administration, something that couldn't be dismantled by the next president seeking to erase my husband's legacy." Elon nodded slowly, understanding the logic. Washington was a place where good ideas often died for bad reasons. "And you chose Eastern European companies because," he prompted. Because they're hungry to prove themselves. Because I understand their culture and can speak their language. And because they're overlooked by Silicon Valley, she replied. Elon set down the tablet, his mind racing with the implications. Your husband doesn't know. It wasn't a question, but Melania answered anyway. He knows I have charitable initiatives. He doesn't know the details. She paused. Few marriages survive when politics enters every conversation. The room fell silent as Elon processed what he'd learned. The First Lady had effectively created a shadow technology initiative, bypassing traditional channels. It was bold, possibly crossing ethical lines regarding transparency, but not illegal from what he could tell. What happens now, Mr. Musk? Melania asked, her composure intact but a new wariness in her eyes. Elon leaned forward. That depends. This technology, I'd like to see more. If it works as you describe, it could change education globally. And if it doesn't? She asked. Then you've made a well-intentioned mistake, he replied honestly. But hiding it won't help either way. Melania considered his words. I followed your career, Mr. Musk. You understand what it means to build something against conventional wisdom, to be told your ideas are impossible. Elon couldn't help but smile at that. I've been told that most of my life. Then you understand why I chose this path, she said. The question is, now that you've discovered it, will you expose it or help improve it? Outside the window, afternoon shadows stretched across the White House lawn as two unlikely figures contemplated an unexpected crossroads. Neither had anticipated this meeting,